Hey everybody, this is Jonathan Schrantz, and welcome back to Chess Opening Blueprint. This is the show where I go over a lot of different openings so that you guys can see them out there. And the basic idea of the Blueprint show is I'm going to give you some openings that have pretty simple plans, are not quite the most common opening at all, and just trying to give you the basic plans by watching some model games here. So today's opening I do want to cover in a three-part series, the F3 Benko. So after the moves d4, knight f6, c4, c5, d5, our opponent plays the Benko Gambit with b5. So we take, which is totally normal and expected by any Benko player. They play a6, and now we hit them with our big surprise, the move f3. So there's actually quite a lot of different opening moves here. The most popular is to take on a6. Obviously, you're going to be ready for that. b6 is also the next most popular. There's some other random lines, e3, knight c3, queen c2. There's all sorts of things you can do here. So Benko players, even ones that have been playing for this for a long time, so there still might be some holes in their repertoire. And I like this move f3. I've looked at it. There's a couple critical lines where black really needs to know what they're doing just to survive. And I played this against somebody that's been playing it, expert level player, played this ever since high school, and just didn't know what to do. Like, it's like the first time you've been playing the Benko so many years and no idea what to do after f3. So it has a lot of surprise value, and it's a very strong opening. So I want to break this up into three separate parts. In today's chapter, we are going to cover what happens if they take on b5 right away. So a takes b5. That's going to be this video. The next one will be another sharp line, e6. Both of these lines are super sharp, and both players need to know what they're doing. But fortunately, if white knows what they're doing, there can be a very, very strong initiative for white. So even good knowledge might not be enough. White, I'm going to show you in these games, which were played by some very high-level grandmasters, and they will kind of illustrate just the way that white can play to get an awesome game. And then in our last game, we'll kind of look at a plan that I think a lot of people, when they see this for the first time, they might come up with either a move like g6 or d6 with the idea of playing bishop g7 and castling right away and not really bringing a lot of attention to what white is up to. White is trying to play the move e4 here, and they just kind of go about their business, get castled. And in these cases, black is often going to find himself just down upon it, and it's going to be good for white. So those are not the super critical lines. The critical lines are a takes b5 and e6. And let us begin our lecture by looking at a game played in this line between Rustam Kasimdzhanov with the white pieces against Pavel Tregubov. And this was played in 2000 in the FIDE knockout. So this was a very important tournament. So I think both players were really trying to bring their A game. It wasn't knockout. I don't know the situation. Maybe white had to win, so he played the f3 Benko. Or maybe he just thought this is a good way to play, and he went for it. Okay, so if they take, our obvious point of f3 was to play this move, e4. We have a little bit more space, always a good thing. And, hey, look at that, we attacked the b5 pawn. So really only one move has ever been played, although I think I had this position against somebody online, and they played d6 here, which just blunders the b pawn. So they probably won't do that if they know what's up. The real main way of playing is queen to a5, check, and defending. Now, by far the most common and probably best move is bishop to d2. I do only want to mention one move because it's so interesting, and thank you B8 Checkmate for gifting a sub to Joe Bruin. We are recording on Twitch, so I do appreciate all the love. If you're feeling inclined, you want a little surprise here as white, you can consider the move b4. I don't recommend it, but once you see it, you see b4, that's a move. You might be tempted. I understand. I see the temptation myself, but I just couldn't make this work. It looks like both queen takes and c takes actually objectively works out for black, so it's not even like a trick where they could mess up. Most people end up taking with a queen. The idea is bishop attacks queen, forcing you to the only square, a4, and then most people are playing queen to c1. Now, this can get really complicated. Black does kind of need to know what they're doing. Some move like b5 needs to be played. So that after you take here, they can play knight a6. I don't know, a lot of interesting, fun stuff. You might have to give up a bishop. You can play queen to d4. Doesn't cause... Whoop, that's the end of the game. Doesn't cause black enough of a problem. It's really fun to look at. We can just also take a quick look at c takes The idea now is to play knight d2 all the way to b3, but I think it goes e5. You can also play e6. They're very similar. This is just not quite enough. Yeah, maybe you can play this way, but feel free to explore it. It is an interesting option. So if there's somebody and you do play this opening against over and over and again, and you need a little surprise, b4 is worth a look, but the best move is bishop to d2, and that's in fact what was played in our main game here. So attacking the queen, b4, and now a move to know as white. Here's a very interesting idea. So notice the c4 square. As soon as they push that pawn, you want to get your knight to c4, and that could be a big hint as to what was played in here. It is a little mini tactical move. The best way of getting your knight there. It looks like your knight's stuck. You can't go to d2, but there is a pin, so you can go to a3. So knight a3 to c4. As soon as that c4 square opens up, that's always going to be a good square for a knight. So basically, the blueprint is knight to c4, bishop out, knight out, castles. And in the meantime, there's going to be, some stuff going on. Black can try to cause problems in the center, and these things will have to be dealt with. Another main idea is going to be, after the knight is out of the way, creating a passer over here with a move like a3. So that you're going to see, those are kind of the typical moves. And basically, no matter what, that's what white is trying to play. So it's easy. There's the blueprint, nice and simple. And you wait, and you also have to react to whatever black might throw at us. So d6 played, knight c4. This was the point. And I do believe the best move here was played by black, the move queen to d8. I want to show, there are two other queen moves that have been played. I want to show them, not just to get into the theory, but I think we can highlight a couple ideas before we look at what was played in the game. So I do like the way the game was played. So after queen to c7, not the game, but there's again this idea, white can kind of do two things. Either play a3 immediately, or just go through with the simple plan. I'm always fond of just getting the stuff out and castling before doing stuff. We're going to see that in the game, but I just want to kind of show a3 as an idea here. One point being that if they take, you can take back with a rook, and you might get a position like this where you have this outside pawn. This is probably going to be good for white, so this could be considered queen c7. Maybe not the best. It could get hit later, and all sorts of stuff. So another idea people have come up with is keeping the queen on the a file. Sometimes this is normal in a Benko. If you can get, a queen here and you can bring a rook all the way over, long way off, and white will do stuff in the meantime. But here again, you can play a3 now or bishop to d3. This doesn't really make a threat, but it does just kind of illustrate at some point this is going to become a threat after people castle. Now there is a real threat here. At some point they are going to have to take, and you're going to get to take back. Something like this is just going to be good for white. So not horrible. Black can probably play like this. But just to illustrate, this is the kind of way that the game may proceed. So in our model game here, queen to d8 was played, and a3 is again actually the most common move, but I do have a deep fondness for the way white played. I've looked at a3, and again, I think it's fine, but I think the tempo actually does matter quite a bit. So let's come back. We'll play bishop to d3, and keep in mind that white could have already spent a time on a move a3. We'll remember that for the future. So now e6 played. Black really should try to do something in the center. Now you're really asking a serious question. You're trying to win the pawn, so you're forcing white to capture on e6. And black took back with the bishop. The idea is to play d5, and before white really gets a solid grip in the center, knight e2, just following the blueprint, d5 comes. And I think a lot of people see this for the first time, and I've shown this to a couple people now as white. They get really scared. They're like, oh, black played d5. They did it. They broke through. They're at least equal. Maybe this is bad for white. It's really not. So pay attention to just how easily white gets an initiative in this game. It works out really well. You take it. They are going to take it back. And you castle. Knight f4, I think, is a move, but I don't know. Just doesn't quite, to me, make sense, because I think you should just castle. Follow the blueprint. Bishop to e7 played. Now, queen to c2. And this is the importance, in my mind, of not playing a3. Had you played a3, black would have already castled on this move. But because they didn't, we're able to stop black from castling. And we'll see in the game, he doesn't get to. Black never gets to castle in this game. But it's not going to be easy. So Knight c6, this is kind of the beginning of the middle game. And every move now, there is a chat here, so I will kind of ask you guys what you would play here. I think this is an interesting decision. I don't think it's so easy to play with white, but if you are very careful, you can play a very strong move here. And I don't think it's very evident immediately, but can you guys find a move that will initiate some sort of threats? It's time to start focusing our initiative. I'll give you a couple hints. Pay attention to what your bishops can do, and pay attention to that d file. Obviously, you'd love to kind of clear that d file and get some pressure on the d5 knight. So a bit of a big hint, and I don't want to spend too much time, and I'm not getting any answers in the chat. So the big move here is bishop to e4, which actually sets up a little threat. Like if you play a move h6, for example, our idea is to play knight to f4 with pressure. So now it's not so easy. There's this knight here hanging, so it's not so easy. We're starting to make threats, and yeah, like if you castle, for example, we're just going to take the bishop. So we're starting to make some threats here. Don't feel afraid to say a bad answer. It will make the video better, so don't feel afraid to say anything that might be wrong. So the rook comes to c8, trying to get off of that diagonal there. And time to put a rook on the d file. All right, rook to d1, excellent. And now knight to d4, hopping in. Still hard for black, you know. What is he going to do? What's he going to come up with? I take it back. Some of you are not allowed to give answers. Now, you take on d4. They take it back. And time to find another tempo move. Keep the initiative alive. You can pause your videos at home, shout it out in the chat, or wait for queen to a4 check. So not so easy to deal with. Not so easy. You know, you don't really want to play king f8. So you play bishop to d7. Notice removing the defender of the knight. So after queen b3, the knight is hanging. Bishop goes back. Okay, we do a little dance. White wants to win. White is doing very well here. So white keeps the queen on the board. Queen to a6. The knight is attacked. So this again is another tempo. The knight on d5 is attacked. So knight to c7 looks totally normal. And now here I hope you can see another tempo move, keeping the initiative. Queen to d6 check. Getting that bishop or forcing king to f8. Probably can't give the bishop. So king f8 played, and now queen to b6, saving the queen. So all of our effort has turned into a weak king for black, and the white's pieces are still very active. So it's still looking pretty promising. Rook to b8, and now, nice little move. Knight to b7, an excellent knight. And now, some clever stuff, revealing an attack on the queen. So the queen moves away. All right. Rook attacks the queen. Queen to c4. And yeah, white just has an excellent position. His pieces are just kind of poking around at black. And you can tell the opening was just a huge success here. So let's watch how this all played out. Now there is a nice little move. Nice little tricky move here. Attacks the rook. And player's had enough. He decides, let's give the rook. Probably don't have to. You can play rook c8, but among other good moves, I think there's some crazy computer move, but, well, actually, see, that's not so crazy, taking the thing. If you play rook d8, there's something crazy, but taking the bishop is also just good enough for a huge advantage. Takes the rook. So now all of white's effort has resulted in an exchange. How exciting. Trying to get the rook out. Bishop goes back, nice and safe. Just winning at this point. It's all technique with these guys, so this should be for this level. Very simple routine win. And this all stemmed just from a, slightly better position and the initiative, and it all worked out. Nice little tactic. Rook a5, and yeah, nice check. So look at that king. Black had to give it up here. So, yeah, really good opening, guys. I do hope you like that. That's what happens if they play A takes B5. So focus on the initiative, focus on the blueprint, put your pieces where they need to go, get castled, and try to fight for the initiative from the beginning. Thank you very much. If you did like this, please hit like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next video.